Hello, everybody. It is 7:43 a.m. Central Time on the 21st of March, 2019, and we are here on the Earthquake 3D live stream. Thursday morning here in the States, and we're here to talk about seismic events. We're using the USGS and the EMSC to give us a good view of what's striking around the planet. And we had a fairly significant day yesterday, a 6.2 striking in the West Pacific, a 5 striking over here in France, and 5.7 in Turkey. And that's just where we started yesterday. Let's look and see what's hit since my update yesterday. So we'll turn on a display capture and start over here in the West Pacific, where we had those deep earthquakes yesterday. The deep 4.3 that we talked about. Well, since then, that 5.4 struck yesterday afternoon. Let's get all yesterday's earthquakes out of there. Here's pretty much what struck since yesterday. And you'll see it's pretty low, right? I mean, in a day's time, we only have a 4.9 in Papua New Guinea and a 4.3 over here next to Bali, Indonesia, just west of East Timor. That's low, considering we went from all this yesterday to this today. Again, one deep earthquake on our letter D, 4.9 in Papua New Guinea, 4.3 in Indonesia. So I can just stop, right? I mean, that's it, right? That's the whole West Pacific. There's our update. It's not good when the Pacific as a whole goes quiet after getting hammered off with large earthquakes and deep earthquakes. And then we also have to take into account the volcanic activity that's taking place. Let's jump over and take a look. For instance, here's Sakurajima. By the way, something happened to the camera at Sakurajima. It got bumped or whatever, or moved somehow, but it is now up, and you can't see down below where the road was, or the bay or anything, but you can see a higher view above the volcano. So if there is a big blast, we're going to get a better view of it, that's for sure. But let's go over and check the Volcanic Ash Advisory Center and see what's going on. Bromo in Indonesia up to 10,000 feet, 15,000 feet yesterday. Planchon, Petaro at the Chile-Argentina border. Fuego in Guatemala. Reventador in Ecuador. Dukono in Indonesia. Manam in Papua New Guinea, 15,000 continuous. That's on top of the 33,000 foot high blast that happened a few days ago. Sabancaya in Peru. Manam in Papua New Guinea again. Fuego, Bromo, Planchon again. Just repeats of all the same volcanoes over and over again. Going into yesterday, and yesterday, same volcanoes as we were talking about just a second ago, only add in Santa Guido. Santa Guido's in Guatemala as well, next to Fuego volcano. All right, so what we're seeing here is we're actually dropping off with the volcanic eruptions as well. Let me recap for you what happened a few days ago. There were roughly 10 volcanoes, 9 to 10, that were going simultaneously across the whole West Pacific, starting up here. So we had Karimsky, we had Shivalush, we had Ebico, we had Bezimiani. Bezimiani sent off the 50,000 foot high blast. Again, 50,000 feet. So 4 volcanoes going here. Sakurajima was going here. We go down here, and Mount Mayon in the Philippines was going. So that's 4, 5, 6 just right there. Then we had Ibu, also Dukono, also Bromo, also Agung, also Kerinci, simultaneously going, which I shouldn't say simultaneous because really some were going one day and then the next day a couple more went and then the others came back. But you get the picture now. Now we're just dealing with Mount Dukono erupting right here and Mount Manam erupting right here. Now, the 4.9 is coming in right next to where Mount Manam is erupting. I don't think that's a coincidence either. Silence is not golden, though. You see all of Kamchatka, all of the Aleutian Island chain, all of Japan, all of the West Pacific, for the most part, except for 2 small areas, going quiet in 24 hours. Usually that means the sign of building pressure. Usually it means we're going to flare up to something larger than what we were at before. So if we were at 6s yesterday and 4s, well, I think it's going to take a step up. Where? We would look to the middle of our silent zones, and we have plural silent zones in 48 hours. We look between our current sets of earthquakes. So first spot, Solomon Islands. Second spot over here in Indonesia. Third spot over here in far western Indonesia, 3 spots. Going to the north, we again have 3 spots. One here in central Philippines, one here off the coast of Japan, and the way we're determining our spots is we're just looking for the middle point between our sets of earthquakes. And the third spot goes up here into the Aleutian Island chain. So 6 spots, 6 spots should get hit. The next couple days, those 6 spots should be filled in by larger than what we have around here now. Let's go out across China and Russia. Yesterday, the 5.4 out here. Come on, man. I proved my case to you guys. Hands down, beyond a shadow of a doubt, multiple 4s and 5s striking out here across China and Russia. I'm not going to even bother showing it to you today. Just understand there's more that have happened since yesterday. And where are they striking? The Taklamakan Desert here in China, and up here across Mongolia, going back into Siberia, Russia. But look here. A 4.6 struck last night into this morning over in Pakistan. Now, a 4.6 has struck down on the plate boundary in South Iran. Same-sized earthquakes, equal distantly spaced. Now we jump over across into Turkey, and look what happened. Central Turkey started to swarm with multiple 4s going up to 4.5, 4.4, or 4.5. Additional earthquakes striking back in western Turkey, east of Rhodes, with the 5.7 yesterday and swarming today. Don't forget the 5.0 that struck over here in France, right here where you see this 3.9. Well, USGS didn't report it, but 5.0 struck there. Look what happened today. Hello? Hello? Is anyone listening? Can you hear my voice? Listen, look. A 3.0 struck on the English Channel just south of the shores of Devon, UK. Ah, good old Devon. Went down there, had a great time down at this place called Salcombe. It's this little harbor town down in South UK. We spent a month in the UK. Man, I'll tell you what, these Brits know how to party. Apparently, I was hanging out with a bunch of ritzy people while I was there because they started talking about their stables and horses and were something about that. Yeah, okay, well, Devon's over here, Plymouth, Salcombe, so forth, over here. So technically, I guess it's to the east of there, or to the west of Kingsbridge and all this stuff. Okay, anyway, here we are, right down here, South UK, English Channel. Why is a 3 suddenly striking in the English Channel? Why is the UK getting hit? Well, yesterday there was a 5 right here. And when it struck, you can go watch my video from yesterday. We told you to watch out that new force was going to be coming up across the UK, heading out towards Iceland, Jan Mayen, and Svalbard. Jan Mayen is, or Jan Mayen, right here. So where did it come from? Where did a 3 come from? Well, it came from the energy introduced into Europe yesterday. Where did that come from? Well, it came out of China and Russia. Where did it come from there? Well, it came out of the West Pacific. And where did it come from in the West Pacific? It was originated with deep earthquakes down below the plate. So deep earthquakes lead to a push, which pushes the west portion of the Pacific, which then displaces all of Asia, which then displaces Europe, which then displaces all the way out to the mid-Atlantic ridge. Along the way, earthquakes are dropped off along the way, like a stepping stone path, usually equal distantly spaced. That's why these are overlapping the way they are, where one ring overlaps with the other perfectly. I can even turn the rings off. We can go back a day, and you can even look at the earthquakes further to the south and further to the west. How about this? Down in Africa. I don't normally get to talk about Africa very much. A 5.1 earthquake, about the same size, that struck up in France. Up in France. En français. Well, are we going down to Tanzania? Tanzania. All right. Isn't Tanzania a French province? Or like a colony or whatever? I think it was. Maybe it wasn't. I want to say it was, though. Ah, look where we are. Okay, we are right next to our volcanic center. Now, this is ancient. This goes back thousands and thousands of years, but they have these marked as active. But, I mean, we go back that 500 years for the last eruption. That's a long time. Here, there's other craters on the side, but obviously it's covered in trees, so it hasn't erupted in a long time. Center of the crater, though, has some activity, obviously, that's gone on in there in the past few hundred years. All right, and the older formations from the Ice Age, Holocene, Pleistocene, pre-Holocene, Pliocene to Pleistocene, and up to the north, the Igwisi Hills. All right, well, you get the picture. We are along a central break in the plate. Let me turn off the borders and labels, and you'll really be able to see it. The volcanoes go along the outside edge on both sides. It could very well be that this is something here in the middle. Could be, or it might just be a buckle point. That also, that's what they say, is that it's being buckled, and that's why this is going down in the middle in between the two areas that are rising. But a 5.1, look at our arrows. Where did this come from? Well, same amount of energy that's traveling across Asia and going across Europe travels over to Africa and ends up right here next to our letter X, this time at the volcanic formations. We can trace it back over here, where we had a bunch of deep earthquake activity. Now look at our line of quakes going up into China, but it stops at the China border. You know what? If they weren't obfuscating earthquakes to try and hide this, what you would see is a line of earthquakes that goes up and around the bend and connects over. All fours. But because they're hiding the earthquakes out of China and Russia, you don't see the stepping stone, the final piece that's missing right in here in South Xizang, China and North Xizang, China. Right? You would see a connecting point going all the way across in the past day and a half if they reported the earthquakes properly out of China and Russia. Now, what does it mean? It means that the whole planet moves in conjunction with one another, plate-wise, in the course of a few days' time or less, all on the same magnitude within a hair of a point of one another. 4.3, 4.4, 4.2, 4.9, 4.3, 4.6, 4.6, 4.6, 4.6, 4.6, and then we get a crossover into Europe, and the cumulative total of everything coming out. Oh, and don't forget the 5.4 that hit here at the Mongolia border. 5.4 adds all together, boom, 5.7 pops off here, then 5's downstream. They don't want you to see it because who's they? The professionals, of course. Professors and the like. They said it couldn't happen. Thousands of them, hundreds of them, and certainly dozens of them came stepping against me personally, trying to say this was not happening and accusing me of faking the earthquakes to make it look like this was happening. Hey, by the way, speaking of faking earthquakes to try and make it look like something happened, why would I fake a 4 out in the middle of the ocean? How could I fake a 4 out in the middle of the ocean? Let's go get the info on this. 4.7 striking over at Barbuda, over in the Eastern Caribbean. Look at that. Now, we issued a warning yesterday between Puerto Rico and Barbados. Barbados is right here, this little green island right at the center of the screen, and Puerto Rico is right here. So we issued a warning for something near 5.0 to break out, and what hit? 4.7. Also, 5.0 on our letter X, direct hit. Same time that's happening, look what else got hit. Down here in Ecuador. Ecuador, we issued the warning at the Ecuador-Colombia border for yesterday, saying to watch out for something larger than any of the 4s. And I said we would at least be going up to 5s. Look what hit. Boom. After being quiet, it went now back up to 5. Same with down to the south. It was quiet. Now it's starting to hammer off in North Chile with multiple mid-range 4s and 3s. Planchon Petoroa is erupting further down here to the south. But man, come on, there it is. 5.0 coming in right in Ecuador just as expected, and 5.0 coming into the East Caribbean between Puerto Rico and Barbados, and our letter X getting hit. As we go back over into Mexico, the only earthquakes I have to report to you today, just like over in the West Pacific, 2 4s. Look, 2 4s. 4.4 and a 4.4, accompanied by a 4.1 and a 4.0. So let's just call these two of the same size sets of quakes. 4.4, 4.4, 4.0, 4.0, basically. Or 4.1, 4.0. South Mexico, south of Popocatépetl volcano. Popocatépetl is erupting here. Fuego and Santiaguito are erupting here. And Poas erupted 2 days ago here. So we'll throw Poas out. It's not erupting today so far. And that's 3 volcanoes erupting here. And the earthquakes are sandwiched directly at the middle point between the erupting volcanoes. That shouldn't be a surprise. Let's go jump over and look at the continental United States starting up here in Alaska and then work our way down to actual continental lower 48 where Texas got hit. But first things first, Bering Strait, 3.5 earthquake, 2.8 going across the mainland and up here north by northeast of Mount McKinley, pretty far. Actually, this is getting out into central Alaska, but that's low. Just like over here, low. Well, over here, low. Now let's go turn on our 24-hour feed of 0.0 and greater earthquakes. This will show us all the small quakes and the felt events. So small earthquakes, now look at those stacks in the US, but up here, since yesterday, it's all small, pretty much ones and twos. Get ready, guys. This is going to flare back up. There's no way around it. Going quiet, like I said over here, it's gone quiet. That's not good. We're having new deep earthquakes. We had all those volcanic eruptions. Then for it just to go whoosh and stop? No, that doesn't happen when it, well, I shouldn't say it doesn't happen. It's happening now. But that is just a buildup before something bigger releases. We've seen it so many times when it gets quiet like this, and I get on, I'm like, guys, silence not golden, get ready. And then we're back at it in earnest within a few days or less with big activity. So up in Alaska, what's going on? A spread of 2s and 1s. I think it'll flare back up to 5. I stand by it. I'm not going to back down on it. I think it's going to go back up to 5s. So if we're at 1s right now, that's going to go 2, 3, 4, 5. That's going to go up 4 magnitudes, which is like a 10,000-fold increase in power to go from 1s to 5s. So it's getting ready to come in. But where's it coming from? It's coming from the West Pacific. I would say Japan is also going to have to show something. Something in the West Pacific is going to have to show up as forces coming around up into Alaska. Again, it's gone quiet. Okay, let's go out to Hawaii really quick. Take a look, guys. Look what happened today. This should just be mind-blowing for everybody. So the earthquakes at Kilauea stopped. We moved over to Mauna Loa and all the way to the far north tip of the Big Island. And this takes us right in next to, I think, Kohala. Pretty sure that's the name of it. It's an ancient volcano in Hawaii that most people don't even know about. Everybody knows about Mauna Loa, and Mauna Kea, and Kilauea. But do you know about Kohala? Here it is. Here's Kohala. Feel free to read it if you need to, but it's pretty obvious. It's an old volcanic chain. And this is one of those that actually, the side of it broke off and slipped down into the ocean and caused a massive tsunami at some point in the past. This all broke off and slid down. You can see where it happened. It's one of the only spots on the island where you can actually see physical evidence of it breaking off and sliding down. A long time ago. But here's Kohala. Here's the craters for it. And they are covered in trees, and they're ancient. And we're talking about many spatter cones and cinders that go down and just keep going down towards the ocean. Here's our earthquake right here, and here's one of the nearest old spatter cones right there. But they carry on. There's more. For instance, here's one there, and we get out here out to sea, and there's some undersea going down on the sea mounts. All right, so an earthquake striking up next to Kohala. The others, about the same size, 2.4, 2.6, striking over on the eastern flanks of Mauna Loa. So back down here. All right, and here's Kilauea all the way over here. Now the earthquakes are spreading out to the other volcanoes. It's now indisputable. No one can dispute this. The other volcanoes are getting hit now, including the ancient features on Hawaii's Big Island, going out, spreading out to the perimeters. Why, though? These are all back up behind Kilauea. Kilauea is down low. Here, let me show it to you this way. All right, now you kind of get the picture here. So here's Kilauea, here's Mauna Loa, there's Mauna Kea. We can go over Mauna Kea, and on the other side is Kohala. These are all up above Kilauea. Kilauea is on the low end of it. It collapsed. It's now refilling. This whole thing's repressurizing. As it's repressurizing, well, it's a smaller magma chamber now. The top caved in by several thousand feet. So several thousand feet worth of magma that would normally fill in here is displacing out to other features across the Big Island, like a plumbing system that's backed up. Now we're at the far north tip, coming from the far south tip, where forces developing down here in the Middle East Rift Zone. This is the Hawaii Volcanoes National Park, where all the tourists are. Here's all the houses built onto it. And the USGS said the eruption was done. That's not why. I don't think that's wise. Personally, that's just my assessment. Of course, they're never going to agree with me. That's okay. I don't mind. Now, let's go over to the United States mainland and talk about what happened here. How about a 3.0 over in Texas? Now, we warned Fort Stockton, Texas. Let's go take a look and see. Now, why did we warn Fort Stockton, Texas? Let's see how close it is. See where it says Pecos? Here we are. Zoom in, see Pecos. And here's Fort Stockton. We warned Fort Stockton. Here's the earthquake. Let's see how far it is from Fort Stockton. What did we warn you for? We warned you for a 3.0 earthquake to strike. What hit? A 3.1. I'll get into why I warned Fort Stockton in a second, but let's get a line measurement tool to see how far it is. So there's the town. Here's the earthquake. Warned for a 3. 28 miles. Now look what's here. Do you see all these little square pads that have the ponds, the brine ponds on them, and the tanks and the pumps and the jacks and all that? We're looking at a large oil and gas pumping operation spread out over many miles just at this location itself, every little square pad. Okay, but it's part of a huge operation, and you get the picture of what we're dealing with here. Now, Texas is already dealing with something else today down here in Houston, and I've got to tell you, let me stop right now. If you live down here in Houston, you might not know, you might not be watching the news this morning, you might not even have TV. There's a shelter-in-place order around Deer Park and that huge burning fire thing that they had going on, they said was not a problem 2 days ago. Now they're telling everybody to shelter in place. Benzene is being emitted or being detected coming from the fire. They can't figure out where it's coming from. And benzene is something you do not want to, or your pets, you do not want to be exposed to. Even 1 part per million. 1 part per million. 1 ppm, the lowest pretty much that you can go. I mean, you can get to half decimals of a ppm, but 1 ppm of benzene is considered toxic. Even 1 particle. So, and it can cause extreme cancer, aggressive cancers, and also has short-term symptoms if you're exposed to heavy amounts, which of course will be lethal. So we do not want to have you guys or your pets outside right now around Deer Park or anywhere around that southeast Houston, I think is where it is. All right, now back to this. Look at all these. These are all drill points. Every one of them is a drill point, oil and gas. No doubt about it. You can see the shadows of the tanks and the jacks and the pumps. Now we go down here, the earthquake striking right on the edge of the huge pumping op. There's no doubt about it. And this thing goes on all across Texas. Look at this county. Every one of the little white square cutouts is these aren't houses. They're all oil and gas. Look at the pipeline there. It's just a tube they throw on the ground and connect between the, look at that. Watch where you're driving. So a 3 striking down in Fort Stockton, 28 miles away from Fort Stockton. Why did we warn for a 3? We have to jump over to California. Let's go all the way over here. Take a look. California, West Coast. This stack of earthquakes down here, down on the Anza Gap, San Jacinto Fault. Well, it was swarming up. And I told you, as it was starting to swarm up yesterday, it was getting a new push from California. When it builds here, it then releases over to Texas. And if it doesn't release over to Texas, if it gets caught up here for any reason, then we see a large earthquake break out in Southern California. But force normally flows over to Texas, over to near Fort Stockton, where all those drill points are. So the cumulative total of everything that was across all of California for the last 2 days just transferred over to Texas and hit with a single 3. All these 0s, 1s, and 2s add up to a single 3. Boom, over to the east. And then this drops off. And it did. Look at what it is now compared to where it was yesterday. Now let's go up to the north, because we've got an increase going on here across California. You see the stacks of earthquakes. So where do I start? I guess I should start in the far Pacific Northwest. Yesterday, we were dealing with a line of earthquakes going across Montana, down into Yellowstone, and going across Utah. Now the line of earthquakes up to the north has stopped, and instead it's now transferred the energy down into Utah, where it's spreading out to multiple weak points. And we can go look these up and show you what's at each weak point. There's a reason for each spot. But like I said, I'm going to start up here in the Northwest. Washington and Oregon, 24 hours worth of earthquakes, 0.0 and greater. Do you notice anything? Let me get a sip of my coffee while you look at this empty map. No earthquakes. And that's not Earthquake 3D doing some kind of weird reporting. This is the USGS. Let's go over to their website. Here we go. Beautiful USGS white website there. Totally high tech. Go in and take a look. Oh, well. Nothing to worry about here. This is like a Leslie Nielsen in the Naked Gun movie, standing in front of an exploding fireworks factory and waving people away, saying nothing to see here. There's no earthquakes. Again, for another day out of Oregon, which is just absurd, asinine, and then up in Washington, it seems they've caught the disease. The no earthquake disease. Harry Potter's wand has expanded. That's what it is. The Z-shaped fracture lightning bolt is the the Wand of Fuca. That's what it's called. But we're going to call it Harry Potter from now on because it's magical, baby. Now, I'm being sarcastic. This lightning bolt-shaped S-shaped fracture zone, the Wand of Fuca. Well, let's go over and check something else really quick, shall we? Let's go over to the real-time tremor map from the University of Washington. See what's going on here. Click on 24 hours worth of tremors. Now, these are not earthquakes. These are small vibrations as the plate shifts. And there were hundreds and hundreds of them up here just 2 days ago. Then yesterday, it stopped for the most part, went down to next to nothing. Here's 48 hours. Notice anything? Nothing in Oregon. 2 to 3 tremors, 2 to 3 small vibrations in Northern California as a whole. And the cluster in Seattle went down to next to nothing. But look. Equal distance spaced now going across all of Vancouver Island. Like a trail of breadcrumbs leading back to the spot that was moving. This is the plate boundary. Moving to the south, moving to the north. Now, it's not that much, thank God. But it was big time moving 2 days ago. Now, down to the south. This all just moved. This Z-shaped fracture zone just moved. Was shaking with vibrations as the plate was shifting. Same time that happened, over to the east, this flared up. Now this stopped, and this flared up. And down south, this was flaring up. Now this has gone down, and this went up. So it's transferring to the east for the most part. But this gets me back into their earthquakes now in California. All the same spots that I showed you yesterday are moving again today, but we've moved slightly over to the east. I'll explain. So here is Geysers, California. Geysers, California, Clear Lake volcano, daily shows us activity. Sometimes it's low, sometimes there's only a few events, other times there's a big stack of earthquakes. Like this. The big stack usually means force is being applied from out to sea. So out here in the ocean, out here on the Wand of Fuca fracture zone, force is being applied in a diagonal direction to the east by southeast, which then puts pressure on geysers, and we see an increase. This thing starts to flare up when a push comes in from out here. Same time that starts to flare up, the creeping section of the San Andreas starts to flare up. Are you surprised? Hayward Fault showing a 1.0 in the Bay Area today, and then look, a line of earthquakes. Now, yesterday there was a quarry blast mixed in here, by the way. Not anymore, but just as a point of reference, they have a quarry along the San Andreas? Okay, whatever. 1.2, 1.3, 1.4. 1.2, 1.2, 1.4. Notice anything about these earthquakes? They're all the same size. So the creeping section crept from east of Monterey Bay all the way down here next to Coalinga, all on the same basis, all in 1 day's time. The whole creeping section just crept a little bit. All at once, after yesterday not doing much at all. Now across the valley, over here, we're on the back side of Mammoth Mountain. This is interesting. Over here to the east, starting up here, going down to here, going down to here, all 3 of these, volcanoes. Directly next to them, let's show it to you. This should bring us in next to Mogul, Nevada. Truckee, California, Mogul, Nevada. Yep, should bring us right in on Sunflower Mountain. Sunflower Peak, or Sunflower Mountain, I'll show it to you. Here's Lake Tahoe. Here's Sunflower. And here's Steamboat Springs. Steamboat Springs volcano. Ancient and huge. It's got a massive geothermal pumping operation. You see the geothermal turbines here. These are connected to pipelines that spread out, and it's on both sides of the highway. It just keeps going and going. So they have many different drill points here for the volcanoes. And right here, our golf course subdivisions take us right over to Sunflower Mountain. The swarm started below Steamboat Springs, then transferred over below Sunflower Mountain, then went up to this this giant oval shape that's carved out of the California-Nevada border. It's my contention that this is an ancient supervolcano of some kind. Down here, Steamboat Springs, geothermal, and up here, the Needles at Pyramid Lake. And that's a geyser field as well. So the equal distance spaced geyser fields on both sides of this oval shape, and then it's surrounded by ancient volcanoes. And it's getting hit by earthquakes all the way around it. Let's jump down to the east by southeast. Out here, this should take us next to Black Dyke Laccolith, I think. Black Dyke Mountain, it's a rupture point where, well, you'll see. I'll show it to you. A picture speaks 1,000 words. Here's the U.S. Army Ammo Depot. This earthquake, though, is happening 10 kilometers down in the crust, so don't worry. That's where they store the ammo. They're not destroying it. But this huge ring shape, discolored on one side from eruptive points that apparently spilled out magmatic contents to the surface in large lava flows off the side of Black Dyke Mountain here. Let's turn back on our borders and labels. So on the side of here, this ruptured, but the others apparently have bulged in the past around in a ring. Now, the ring is about the same size as the other supervolcano here, which is Long Valley Caldera. And it is a supervolcano confirmed with new Earth-penetrating tomography measurements. I get people who used to dispute me on that. When I used to say, guys, I think it's a supervolcano at this spot, I got mocked and ridiculed. Now they've done new measurements using penetrating tomography to look inside the magma chamber. 1,000 cubic kilometers, 240 cubic miles of melt. It's a supervolcano. Their own standards. Amazing, right? So our earthquake. Let's go show you these earthquakes here. Let's just pull this one right from in the middle. Tom's Place, east of Mammoth Mountain. Mammoth Mountain, beautiful ski resort. I need to get out there. I need to come out to Mammoth Mountain and go hang out. This place looks awesome. Don't worry, it's not going to erupt, guys. This is just seismic activity seeking out the weak point in the plate. In this case, Mammoth Mountain Ski Resort here, and right next to it, geothermal pumping operations. The good news I have for all of you on this is that these weak points that are getting hit, these volcanoes, it's not a threat of an eruption. It's just proof that pressure transfers across a plate and hits a weak point as it transfers across the plate. That's what it's proof of. So nothing to get too excited about. As we go down here into the south tip of this valley here, this should bring us in a place called Kozo Junction. Kozo Volcanic Field, to be more specific. Now, why wouldn't the USGS tell you that? Do you see anything on here about the volcanic field? I mean, it's right in the middle of a volcanic field, the earthquake is. Why wouldn't they tell you? You think you'd want to know. Hey, earthquake swarm happening in the middle of this volcanic field. Started 2 days ago with a few earthquakes. Now it's picked up into dozens. Here it is. So here's Kozo Volcanic Field. Smithsonian place mark, by the way. That's theirs. They chose the spot to put the place mark. And right next to it is a series of geothermal turbines, pipelines, drill points that go into the upper spots above the magma chamber to get steam. And our earthquakes are breaking out right on the edge of Kozo Volcanic Field. So the USGS just isn't telling you. Now up here to the north, this 0.9, there was a swarm up here yesterday that stopped Lone Pine, California. Yeah, there's probably some lone pines out here. It's like Death Valley. But there's something else here. Something else next to this that I think you might want to see. See these? Yuba Hibi craters. And that's the crater in the ground there, and cinders and spatters all around it. It's 50 square kilometers out in all directions. Yesterday, we were on the northern side up here by this. Now today, we're on the southern side down by this. So there's formations on both sides. And, you know, again, there's no doubt about it. We're looking at ancient volcanism here. An old volcanic field. Look at the tuftage on top of here. Look at that old lava flow. Wow. Awesome. Okay, it's not even named, but it should be. They should have this thing named at this point. Maybe it does have a name associated with it, but apparently it was an ancient formation a long time ago on the edge of Yuba Hibi craters. They just elevated the Yuba Hibi craters to active risk level. I brought it up somehow, some way. Why? The earthquakes that are striking there. But they think I guess there's some kind of threat level there. They don't understand. The professionals do not understand that the weak points are getting hit. That it's just a perforation point in the plate that Mother Nature created over a long period of time. And it's going to take a lot of force to come in and cause an eruption or anything big. And I mean a lot. So we have to wait to see some huge activity out here to the northwest. Then we watch to our volcanoes to show some kind of eruptive response. Getting down into the far south tip of California, Bodfish, California. Let's go in and take a look down here at South San Joaquin Valley. San Joaquin is what I call it, right? That way, California people were like, what do you call it? It's San Joaquin. Take a look. Here's the earthquake. Now, I want to draw your attention to what's right next to it, parallel, over here. Do you see it? Here, let's zoom in and show it to you. This giant discolored location. We'll zoom in some more. What you'll start to see are little black dots. Zoom in some more on those black dots, and you'll see each black dot is a different drill point, a different shadow of a jack or a pump or a well. Now look. It just keeps going and going and going. All throughout here. Every one of them. Right next to each. And it goes down into the farmers' fields too. It doesn't stop in the mountain, just at the mountain edge. It goes right down in the valley and keeps on going. You'll see this isn't for pumping water either, guys. This is strictly for oil and gas. All right. That's where the 1.4 is. Now we can go down here. This gets us onto the San Andreas and the Elsinore Fault, taking us right down into L.A. L.A., I'll be darned. Well, we got the same sized earthquakes now striking in L.A. that struck yesterday out to sea. I guess I should show you first what struck yesterday out to sea, because this matters. This really matters. Hold on. Here we are. Here's L.A., and we're right off the shores of Long Beach, right about here. So a few miles past the harbor and so forth, and I brought up these. I showed these to you. Oil and gas pumping operations out offshore. And it was a 1.8 that we were dealing with out here yesterday. Go watch my video from yesterday. Now look, a 1.8 and 1.7 strike on land. Not just anywhere. Let's go take a look. Guess what's here? Guess what's here? I'll give you a second because you're going to see it in about 2 seconds. There. See these? Not a volcano. Oil and gas pumping. This is called the Baldwin Hills. And here at the Baldwin Hills, they've got hundreds, if not a few thousand different drill points. So yesterday, 1.8 off the coast, down here to the south, next to the offshore platforms. Today, a 1.8, 1.7, and 1.8, side by side, right here. I just looked up the 1.7, so we can go a mile over to the east. MacArthur Park. It's quite literally on the other side of the Baldwin Hills pumping operation here. Let me show you. So we just jump right over here. Now, we always look within 6 to 10 miles because they can drill at angles and horizontally, side by side, out by several miles. Let's see. We're 4 miles from the center of the operation here. So 3 miles out to the edge of it. Close enough, that's for sure. You get the picture. Oil and gas pumping operation up here. Oil and gas pumping operation here. Geothermal pumping operation at volcano here. Geothermal pumping operation at volcano here. Mother Nature punch point at Black Dyke Lackalith here. We go up here next to Sunflower Mountain, next to Steamboat Springs, which again is a volcano and a drill point for steam. And we get back up here to geysers, and that's again another drill point for steam at another volcano. The only natural quote-unquote fault zone earthquakes that we've covered so far are going right through here. This is on the creeping section of the San Andreas. Now look where this quake stops on the San Andreas. Parkfield, California. Parkfield, the earthquake capital of the United States, as they call themselves, or the earthquake capital of the world, I think. It's on the San Andreas. But why does it stop here? Why doesn't it progress any further down? Why is it stopping right here on the San Andreas? Do you see what's right next to here? See where it says Coalinga? Coalinga is not coal extraction. It got its name from the railroad when they drop off coal for other pickups to go back into the interior of the United States. Take a look. Drill point capital of the West Coast right here. And it goes all the way up the valley. Oil and gas, drill points, perforations in the plate, and goes all the way down past Coalinga and picks up down here. I can turn on my oil well place marks. I mean, you get the idea. So our earthquakes stop at Parkfield, the earthquake capital, next to the drill point capital. I think they're related. I think that the reason the earthquakes are stopping there, it's like a perforation. In the next day, we should see this jump over into the valley next to these drill points, Coalinga, and so forth. How big? Well, it'll be the combined total of all these zeros, ones, and twos, so hopefully it won't be that big at all. Hopefully. Southern California. Well, there's two things happening now. The San Andreas is finally starting to move down here with this 1.2 and 1.4, 0.9. Then we branch off and we make a line down the San Jacinto. This goes west of Salton Sea, all zeros for the most part. And then right next to Salton Sea itself, we've got a 2.2. So the biggest earthquake so far striking right next to Salton Sea. See how it says Ocotillo Wells? Ocotillo Wells? Oh, whatever. Can't pronounce that properly. This is a spot NASA is studying. Why is NASA out here studying? How about an earthquake swarm breaking out here? Traveling across the area of Barajo Springs. See this? Here's Salton Sea. Here's Salton Sea volcano. And Salton Sea volcano has geothermal drill points where humans have drilled again to get the steam from the volcano. So it's a Mother Nature made weak point. Humans drilled in, making it a further weak point. And then to top it all off, as if that wasn't enough, look what else is here. Tectonic plate boundary and fault zone. Tectonic plate right here. That's the San Andreas and Imperial Fault. And then here is the San Jacinto. And that is pretty obvious as well. So whenever this flares up, when California flares up, we then watch to the east over to Texas, Oklahoma, and the drill points, southern Colorado, across the edge of the craton, following the arrows. The only earthquakes I did not look up yet are over here in Utah. So I guess we can go look them up. Some of them might be... Let's go take a look. Carbon City again. This brings us in right next to the drill point from yesterday. Carbon City, just north of it, huge oil and gas. Go figure, right? Let's get a sip of my coffee. Here we are. And here's Carbon City. And here's where I measured from yesterday with all of our oil and gas. So all of these, just like all the others I showed you, oil and gas pumping operations spread out. Now the imagery is as of 2015. Is there any more? Well, there certainly are some down here. Are they expanding over to the east? Likely they are. I don't have proof of that yet. I have to wait for a new imagery to come in here. But where there's one, there's more. And all we have to do is wait for an updated flyover. We always look within 6 to 10 miles anyways. And this is 28 miles over to here. But you see how far it goes up to the north, right? Here, look. Look, I mean, first of all, do you see it from this level? It looks like a grid. This is the pumping operation to the north. 2 pumps at this one right here alone. 2 jacks at this one right there. And then there's thousands of them. So the pumping operation here is just huge. And it keeps going and going and going. Just like in Texas. So the whole valley up here, and that's no exaggeration, the whole valley is done gangbusters. It goes over to the east. You see? Keeps going over to the east and up to the north. So what would you say? Hundreds and hundreds of square miles. And it doesn't stop. It goes right across and keeps going up this way. Look, Gusher, Utah. So if it goes this far up to the north, it stands to reason. If they're going to expand the operation, where are they going to expand it to? Well, there's only a few spots they could expand to. And that would be down here to the south. So we're certainly close enough in my assessment that they are already doing new pumping here, and we'll wait and find out. Now let's jump over to the west. Gunnison, Utah, 6.9 kilometer depth. Gunnison. Not like Gunnison, Colorado. Different Gunnison. Maybe it's the same people that settle it. Who knows? Is there anything over here that we need to be aware of? Well, I see a reservoir. That's always interesting to see. I don't have any marked pumping operation. Let's just see if we do. No marked pumping operations at this point. Oh, wait, hold on. We're right next to Black Rock Desert. Ah, that's what the location is. Black Rock Desert. These are lava flows. And this is a active volcano. Up to the north, we have more. Great Stone Face Butte. Down to the south, Twin Peaks, South Twin Peak. Okay. Well, whenever I see a nearby volcano, I certainly try to relate it to that first. Now, are there other things that are here nearby? There might be. There might very well be pumping operations here nearby. Ah, apparently there are. Hold on. Where there's a pipeline, there usually are other pumping ops. I don't have the time nor the patience to go through right now and find any around here. I'll tell you though, I'll come through and try and see if we have any more. As it stands now, we're close enough to the volcano. And I'll lend it towards the volcano until we have other proof of nearby wells. You guys are welcome to come in and take a look too if you want to. Up to the north, let's go see. Bluffdale, Utah. Never had to look it up, have no clue what's there. This is real-time stuff here, guys. I slept last night. I didn't spend all night looking up microquakes to have it ready for you in the morning. I look them up real time. Ah, wait, was this an explosion? 7.4 kilometer depth. Hold on. We're at a quarry. We're at a quarry. But it's at 7 kilometers deep. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. What are they doing down below here? You know, I hear all these rumors about them doing all kinds of tunneling and drilling and, or like some kind of, like there's some kind of base that's here or something. I've heard the rumors. I've also heard a few rumors about Salt Lake City and what was here when they came and moved in and found that there were apparently a city that was already here. Did you guys know about this? I found a map from the 1500s, from 1566, that shows Salt Lake City as a town with 100 or so surrounding other towns around it. The problem is that Salt Lake City supposedly wasn't even started until 1850 with the Mormons. So how do you explain castles and stuff up here? And marked in the description of the place. The large city with the 100 surrounding towns. Non-Indian, non-populated, ghost towns, ghost cities. I can't explain it. All I can tell you is I saw it. I have the map. I've already shared it. We already talked about it. Don't want to get too much into it, but something's up. Let's go across over to the west by northwest and wrap this sucker up. Oh, I'm sorry. One more time, west by northwest. Nothing going on up here in the U.S., but up into Canada. We're going to look for new activity to come out of Alaska in the next couple days and come down to the west coast of the United States. First things first, should come over from the West Pacific, where everything's gone quiet in the last 24 hours. So here's 24 hours hard of earthquakes, exact 24 hours, and here's pretty much everything that we would say struck throughout the day today so far. So it's low. Do I need to talk about the earthquake over in Virginia? Well, I guess I do. Coburn, Virginia. 24 kilometer depth. Down inside the plate. All right. What's over in Virginia? Well, this gets us into what happened back in 2011. This also gets us into what happened when the USGS changed the magnitude on that one quake that time. You guys remember? Here, take a look. Here's Coburn, Virginia. Big Stone Gap, Clintwood. And let's turn on our wells and place marks. Wells and place mark shows us the 4.3 from July 18, 2016 that was switched to be something else. They switched it to a 3.4 and moved it by 10 miles. But the reason they switched it to a 3.4 and moved it by 10 miles first they didn't even report it, is because of the oil pumping operation that's here. These are all oil wells. This is Virginia. But to see the oil wells, I mean, come on, you got to have an eagle eye. You really do. You have to know what you're looking for. So, oil and gas pumping operation out here. That's where the earthquake is, down here. So, is there a pumping operation here? I got to take a look around and see. But you know what? I'm already seeing something out here. Ah, yeah. Ah. Ooh. Oil and gas again. Are you shocked? Let's see how many there are. Bum, bum, ba-dum. Price is right, losing horn for the oil companies. Now, I'm not against oil and gas, guys. I'm not. But hey, if you start denying that oil and gas drill points are weak points in the plate, well, you can then kind of get shoveled away in history as the telescope deniers. We're at an oil gas pumping operation drill point. Look, it even goes over here to the east. Yep. All right, there it is. Settled. Done deal. Virginia hit as well. So the only spots hit from the mid to the east. Oh, and by the way, look at our arrow. Look where the earthquake is. Look at our arrow down here. Look where the earthquake is. Pumping operations. Both pumping operations on the edge of the North American craton. The edge of the craton is being drilled. As they're drilling the edge of the craton, it's creating weak points. Weak points allow for force to flow across the plate. We get a push on the west coast, makes it all the way over to the east coast. Following the weak points through the plate. All right, this gets me back to where I started, which was yesterday was a major day, especially over in Europe. And today, Brits, come on, man, Brits, 3.0 off the coast. Africans, guys, 5.1. Also, up here in Turkey, 5.7. Multiple volcanic blasts over the past several days across Indonesia. Wake up. And over here, look, 6.2, right in the area, right next to. I'm not going to say it's exactly in the middle, but right in the area we were watching yesterday. It got hit when I was doing my update yesterday. I start the update by telling you guys, well, there's nothing over here. We're going to watch here next to New Caledonia for something, and then something large to hit. And then by the end of my update, the 6.2 had hit. It's just wild. Anything else? That's all we have. I would like to encourage you to have an earthquake plan. You need to know what to do when an earthquake strikes. It usually means just taking shelter underneath a table or a desk. Kind of a no-brainer. You would take shelter underneath a table or desk, and it would protect you from things that are falling from up above. Drywall, plaster, canister lights in the ceiling, ceiling fans, track lighting, fluorescent lighting, all those things that are up above you. All right, those things you can protect yourself from, obviously, by getting underneath something that's sturdier, strong. Now, it's not going to support a collapsing structure. So if you're not confident in the structure that you are in now, you would need to have an exit plan to get out of the structure quickly. So that's usually brick and cinder block and stone structures are the ones that do the worst in earthquakes. So you would make your way out of the building and have a spot that you pre-designate that you're going to go to. And that spot, of course, you have to work out ahead of time. What else is suggested? An emergency kit. Again, hey, I'm going to get a sip of my coffee. I need a little bit more energy when I'm talking about this repeat over and over again every day. You need an emergency kit. Develop an emergency kit. And do it for yourself and for the loved ones in your household. If you've got kids or grandkids, you might want to think about developing a smaller kit that you keep with your adult emergency kit. And in it, you'll have a few items for the kid that are a little bit more playful. And, candies too, things that... Because if all the adults are melting down and everybody's high stress, and the kids aren't used to seeing that kind of stuff, just think about it, right? So you can have a few of those comfort items for the kids that'll make life a little easier for them and you while you're dealing with any disaster. I would also like to tell you to have a place to go. So you need to pick a place to go, or places, away from your current house. Pretty far away. I'd say 50 miles or more away from your house that you can either drive to or catch a ride to, or however you have to get there, even walk if you have to. But a place like a campground or a rural spot that you can go to that's non-government land that you can take shelter on yourself. Now, I've got campgrounds already picked out across the whole United States if I ever have to leave. They're not government run. They're not on state land. They'll stay open regardless. They got food, water, basic facilities for, cleanliness and that kind of stuff. And I can build a campfire and I can live in my tent if I have to. Now, you have to be seasonal specific, of course. So you have to have the appropriate stuff to survive in whatever temperatures you're in. I'm just reminding you. But you need to pick some places that you can go. Otherwise, you're going to be sitting there waiting for Big Brother to come get you and take you to some gymnasium in a school that's under lock and key and cops and upset people. And to me, it just sounds like a cluster that I would like to avoid. And I'd rather be at a campground having a campfire, roasting some marshmallows, figuring out, using their Wi-Fi at the campground, how I'm going to, get my act together. That'd be way better than being under supervision of some Big Brother entity. All right. Anything else? Do you like what I do? If you like what I do, please subscribe. It's the best you can do to help is to grow the numbers on my YouTube channel and on Twitch. Let's jump over to YouTube and say hi. Everybody on YouTube, hello. We're at 300,482. Out of the 300 people that are there on YouTube watching, having a camp. oh, the craton diagram. Again, it never fails. That's me, though. That's not, I don't think that's, I don't know if that's them. That's okay. That might be me. That might be them. Who cares? But please subscribe to my channel. That's what I'm trying to do. Let's go over to YouTube. Say hi. Of all the 300 people that are on YouTube right now, I'm sure maybe 2 or 3 of you aren't subscribed. Hit the subscribe button. And over on Twitch, let's just go over and say hi. I don't know if you see this. I guess you don't. You saw that dang craton diagram. Oh, there's a commercial. Too bad I don't get paid for commercials on Twitch. Twitch gets paid for the commercials on Twitch. But I appreciate it because that keeps them going. They give me a platform. They get to keep the money from the commercials. I get to keep the money from the subscriptions, half of it. Well, wait, hold on. Half of it goes to me, and then another quarter of that goes to the government for taxes. So I get a quarter of whatever your subscriptions are. Half goes to Twitch, quarter goes to the government, quarter goes to me. Hey! That's fair. I do all the work. Everybody else gets all the money. Hey, I like that. All right. You guys have a good morning, afternoon, evening, or night. And I will be back if anything else goes down earthquake-wise. And that craton diagram, I'll tell you what, I see how people are messing with me still. Sorry, guys. Sorry. My bad. I'll try and edit that portion out when I post this over on YouTube. By the way, we're going to post this as a video over on YouTube. You're welcome to share it and get it out to the world whichever way you can. Peace out.